Hello folks, Scott with Dallas Paint Correction and Auto Detailing here in Dallas, Texas. I am going to ask you a question. It's a question that's asked of me a lot, some by my subscribers on my own YouTube channel and some by my customers. They ask me all the time, what is the best soap for a car? Well, that's, again, the word best is awfully subjective. What's best for me may not be best for you. But we're really going to examine in this video how effective are pH neutral soaps. Why do we even have them on the industry? Well, first of all, we have to understand something that most of us, when we detail our car, we're going to wash it, we're going to clay it, we're going to put some layer of protection on it, a paint sealant, a wax, however you want to look at it. The last thing we want to do is a week or two later when we wash our car, we strip that protection off the paint, right? That makes sense. I kind of agree with that. Well, we have to look at what pH neutral soaps really are. Well, pH neutral soaps, for the most part, they do have some cleaners within them. They're a certain type of salt. I forget, it's like SLDES or something. It's a type of salt that has the ability to only break down, here's a key word, pH neutral soaps can only break down loose contaminants off the panel. Loose, not somewhat bonded, not bonded paint. In fact, washing your car with a pH neutral soap really isn't cleaning the car, and I know that's probably going to ruffle some feathers, but really cleaning the paint really requires removing both the bonded and unbonded contaminants from the paint. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put some X's on this paint. The lighting's not that great, guys, sorry, I was incredibly busy today. But I'm going to put some X's in this paint. Hopefully they'll show up on the camera. I hope so. I'll put a bunch on here. I'm really rubbing this paint aggressively. Most of you are going, you're probably scratching the paint. Look at the dirt on that panel, right? All I'm going to do is I got those X's on the panel. I'm going to take 90 psi of pressure from a garden hose and rinse this panel down and see if I can remove any loose contaminants off the paint or any type of grease and grime with just water alone. Well, the reality is I can't. I need to have some type of cleaner, but I also need a cleaner that's going to be pH neutral because I have, let's say I have a paint sealant on this, let's say I have a wax, so I can't use anything too aggressive. I'm going to take a pH neutral soap, which is in this 32-ounce bottle. I've got a couple of ounces in this thing in a 32-ounce bottle, which makes it more concentrated than typically using a 4-gallon or 5-gallon bucket and putting 2 or 3 or 4 ounces in it. I'm going to spray it on the panel. I'm going to lubricate that panel. I'm going to give that pH neutral soap a chance to try to break down some of those loose contaminants, dust, dirt, or anything that's on that paint. I'm probably putting way too much on there, but let's really give it a shot and see what happens when we do so. I've got a lot of soap on that panel, and I'm going to let it dwell for a couple of, well, not a couple of minutes. I'm not going to kill you with a 19-minute video. So sorry about my last video on trying to remove smoke from a car. Folks, I just want to make sure you guys have all the facts. I've been doing it for a very long time. I do this because I love every one of you. I want you to have the facts. I want you to become more effective, whether you're a car enthusiast or a professional detail, and that's really why I do it. So sometimes I'm a little long-winded. I apologize. I am so sorry. I'm not trying to make your life difficult. Okay, so now we've got that pH neutral soap all over the panel, and I'm just going to use 90 psi from a garden hose. Now somebody's going to say to me, Scott, well, I'll use a 2500 psi power washer. Yes, but really what you're doing at that point is taking advantage of the pressure from the water or pressure from the power washer. You are now using friction as a method or a means to be able to break the bond of those contaminants that might be on the paint so you can flush them off. But most people are just going to use a garden hose. Let's see how effective this pH neutral soap is. Well, in reality, it really hasn't done much at all. I still see those X's. I still see dirt, grease, and grime, and this is where it gets awfully difficult. Most of these pH neutral soaps can only go after loose dirt, loose grease, and grime. What does loose mean to you? I don't know. What does loose mean to me? May be completely different. I'm sure it's completely different than the manufacturer itself. So this becomes a battle of what does loose really actually mean. But if you do research about pH neutral soaps, the manufacturers will be transparent and tell you it will only remove loose contaminants from the paint. So now we know we have to touch this panel, and that's going to be an important part of this video because I'm going to give you a scenario at the end. So I'm going to take my pH neutral soap and I'm going to moisten, dampen, spray down, let that dwell on the panel again. I'm going to take a microfiber mitt, and we all know what's going to happen here, right? I'm going to be much more effective at being able to use that pH neutral soap and push. I have to agitate, I have to push the contaminants off the paint. I'll go over the paint lightly. I'll try not to scratch it, right? I'll just go back and forth like a snake and get those. I'll even come back up, right? This is a no-no. Holy crap, Scott, you call yourself a professional and you went up and down. Well, I did, and I'm not going to panic in the moment because I know how to remove scratches if in fact I did scratch the paint. So there you go. That was much more effective. That's what pH neutral soaps are going to do for you. What pH neutral soaps actually do, folks, there are some salts within it. What they're actually doing, because they know you're going to have to use some free-flowing water or fill up a bucket, 3 or 4 gallons, you're going to have to put your favorite car soap in it that's pH neutral. What these salts do that's within pH neutral soaps is actually make God's given solvent that's already on Earth, which is water. Yes, it's not available all over the place. There are parts of the planet where water is not available, but for the most part, most of us can get our hands on water. So these salts within the pH neutral soap are just trying to make the water, it's trying to give it a little bit more kick, a little bit more power, yet not be able to strip the waxes or sealants. That's really what pH neutral soaps do. pH neutral soaps as well, depending on the manufacturer, they might put more lubricating agents in the soap. This is where it becomes important because they already know you're going to have to touch the panel and push those contaminants off the paint. So they're going to put glossing agents in them. They're going to put more lubrication in them, but that doesn't mean it's going to cut through that grease and grime. That just means they're giving you some added protection during the pushing process with your wash mitt to try to limit your chances of actually scratching the paint. Again, they want you to try to keep the integrity of the sealant or the wax that may be on the car. So what is the best pH neutral soap? I don't know. You have to determine that. What kind of car do you own? Is your clear coat incredibly scratch sensitive? Is it soft clear coat, we call in the industry, which would typically be Japanese paints? Infinities are really famous for it. It almost doesn't matter what you do with some of these cars that have soft clear coat. If you look at them cross-eyed, they'll scratch. It will just frustrate the hell out of you. So you have to determine which soaps give you the best lubrication based on the type of car that you have. I will tell you that most pH neutral soaps on the market are not great. Well, technically they're not cleaners. They're basically going to help you and assist the water to become a little bit more powerful as a solvent itself, and you're going to have to push the debris or the contaminants off the paint to some level, so they're going to give you lubrication. I want to ask you guys a really important question. I'm going to give you a scenario. Let's say this car is completely flawless, meaning the clear coat is completely flat. There are no scratches. There are no imperfections. It's completely flawless, which will already mean that the car will be glossy and shiny regardless of a wax or sealant. Most of us are putting a wax and sealant on the car to protect the car from maybe minor water spots, bird droppings. We're also putting a paint sealant or wax on it to help the clear coat be a little bit more powerful or stronger from not allowing the base coat to oxidize and begin to fade over a period of time. But here is my scenario to you. What if I could guarantee you that you didn't have to put any type of protection on the clear coat? It would last for 10 years. You get 10 years of protection from the clear coat. You don't have to apply a wax or sealant. You'll get 10 years out of that clear coat. But I can expose you to a soap that will actually remove all that stuff that the pH neutral soap could not without touching the vehicle. And we can preserve the fact that the clear coat will always be scratch free. I can't guarantee somebody bumping into it in a parking lot or one of your buddies touching the paint or whatever. But if I could actually guarantee you, no, you will not be able to put a paint sealant on this car, but I'm giving you 10 years of protection anyway from the clear coat. But it will be completely flawless. It will be completely true. There'll be no scratches on it. What's more important to you, keeping the integrity alive of the paint sealant on the car or having no scratches? Those are the only two scenarios. I know somebody's going to say, Scott, I want both. Well, in order to have both, you're going to have to touch the paint. And most of us know during the washing process, this is where most likely we're going to get most of our scratches and swirls, regardless of how careful you are, maybe multiple mitts that you're going to use. You never dip a dirty mitt back into your wash bucket. Whatever the case may be, you will find that if you're touching the paint, you are basically going to scratch it to some level. I'm not saying it's going to be horrific, but that's really the truth and the reality of all of this. So I want to expose you, if you guys are interested, in a soap that I could foam on this car, let it dwell for about 30 seconds to a minute, and then I can rinse it off with a power washer, and it will literally remove a lot of those unbonded contaminants, the grease, the grime, the loose dust and dirt, and you would not have to touch the paint. Again, you can't have a paint sealant on it because the soap I would expose you to is not pH neutral. But I can guarantee you 10 years of protection from the clear coat, and I can guarantee you that you will keep the level of integrity of the clear coat as far as scratches are concerned. No scratches, no imperfections. It will always be true, always be flat, and it will always be glossy because of that fact. I give you those two scenarios. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think. Again, you can't have both. You can now at the moment, but that's cool, but I'm giving you just those two scenarios. Well, I appreciate you guys sitting through this. What do I like as far as a pH neutral soap? Guess what? I like Meguiar's Gold Class. You want to know why? It's easy to get my hands on. It provides me enough lubrication on the panel to be able to somewhat safely remove those contaminants without scratching the paint all that much. I know I'm scratching it because if I'm touching the car, I'm scratching it. I like the fact that it's priced right. I can get it anywhere. I also do a lot of paint correction in my business. This particular soap does have, it says shampoo and conditioner. Conditioner is a key word for some glossing agents, but there's far less glossing agents in this than some high-end soaps from Chemical Guys or Adams. I don't necessarily want a lot of glossing agents. That's not my issue when it comes to detailing somebody's car. I just want to remove the dirt off the paint. I already am going to put some form of glossing agent, whether it be a wax or a paint sealant, but I'm also doing a lot of paint correction. If I use a soap that's pH neutral, but it has a lot of glossing agents, a lot of lubrication, I have to remove those anyway before I do some form of paint correction. I don't want anything on the panel. So this Meguiar's Gold Class is perfectly suited for me in my world, in my reality. I don't overthink the moment. Is Chemical Guys soaps better? Yup, the dilution ratio is better. They provide more lubricity. They have a lot more glossing agents, but that's not always what I'm looking for in my reality, in my world, because I'm detailing people's cars. I'm doing a lot of paint correction. I don't want a lot of those agents on the paint. Kind of think that through. I know that kind of sounds weird, but this to me is perfectly suited. I don't have to overthink the moment. I don't have to order stuff online. I can get this anywhere. Walmart, AutoZone. It does a good job, has enough lubrication. Here's a little tip. If I tell you this provides a lot of lubrication, it's most likely because I'm using it in a bucket with distilled water. I don't know if you have hard water at home or soft water. I will tell you, if you use these things the way the manufacturer created them, they're putting them in a clean source of water. If you have really hard water, you may not get the lubricity out of any soap you might be buying. If Chemical Guys goes, it's our most sudsy, lubricating soap, it may not work in your reality because your soap is hard at your home that's coming through the tap. So I typically always recommend to my customers or anybody that asks, whatever your favorite car soap is, try mixing it with distilled water in your bucket. You'll get the full potential and maximum suds and lubrication from the soap, okay? But this just happens to be something that hits the sweet spot for me. I don't have to overthink the moment, and I can get it just about anywhere. But yes, I will admit that some Chemical Guys offers more lubrication. But I also know a soap that will strip all this off the paint without touching it. I won't have to worry about scratching the paint, and that's why I gave you that scenario before. What's more important to you? not scratching the paint or always making sure there's a sealant on the car? Think about it. Leave some comments down below. I'd be interested in your thoughts. Until next time, I love all of you. I had a great experience tonight. I went to Walmart and I walked down the auto detailing aisle and I noticed Super Clean in the 2.5 gallons was all empty. There was nothing on the shelf. A woman walked up to me at Walmart and said, "Are you Scott?" And I said, "I am, but how do you know me?" She says, "Well, a lot of our customers are buying the 2.5 gallons of Super Clean," and we asked them why, because we're, not that they're having a hard time keeping it in stock, they just find themselves having to put more on the shelf. And they said to me at Walmart, "A lot of people know you on YouTube and you've been recommending Super Clean." And I thought that was great. I had a very humbling experience. I was grateful for that moment. Hopefully everybody will have a great experience with it as I am. If any of you have any questions, I will try to get to it as quick as I can. I'm awfully busy. But I love you all. Just wanted to do, not a quick video, 15-minute video on what is the best pH neutral soap. You have to figure that out for your world. I can recommend this. I can recommend Chemical Guys. I can recommend Adams. Will it work for you? That depends on your water source. It depends on the clear coat. Do you have clear coat that's awfully scratch sensitive? There's so many different scenarios that come into play. It's very hard to recommend. And we also have to realize pH neutral soaps aren't really the greatest grease grime cutter on the planet to begin with, regardless. I appreciate it, guys. I love all of you. We'll talk to you soon. Be safe.